Now guys, before I kick off today's episode and head over to Morzine, I want to take a moment to thank today's sponsor, Car Vertical. So guys, Car Vertical is much like a traditional checker, but it's way more futuristic. It gives you so much more information. They check over 20 countries to make sure that there's been no funny business going on in any of the country and it's imported over here. It's all stuff to watch out for. So guys, I punched in one of the Defenders that we have in stock and on site, and the system is amazing. So you can see here that there have been no mileage discrepancies recorded with that vehicle. There have been no recorded thefts, no accidents, and the all-important no outstanding finance. So if we scroll down here, you can see that every time the vehicle has had a private registration, any advisories or any MOT failures. And this is really cool. They've got a mileage graph, so you can see if there's any, if the clock's been wound back or anything. And obviously this one all lines up, which is amazing. That's just great to see. That's always good information. Keep going down here. Now, as I mentioned, Car Vertical check over 20 countries, which is amazing because you could potentially have the issue of the car being exported out of the country, living abroad for a little bit, then re-imported, and that potentially wiping the record or losing any of this important data. So guys, to show you what I mean, I've got another example here of a Defender which has brought up an accident tab on our Car Vertical check. Now, amongst all this other information, Car Vertical have managed to grab the photos of when this Defender was involved in its accident. Now, this is a heavy front end smash, and I would love to know about this if I was potentially buying this vehicle. Now, because of the age, mileage and specification of this 110, it is very likely that this vehicle is back on the road. It looks like the chassis was undamaged. But obviously you want to know if your vehicle has been damaged, and look at all these photos. We've got so much information of when this vehicle was first auctioned off. So guys, if you are like me and you're always trying to find a great deal on a Defender, make sure you check out the one you're potentially buying first, or any car, using Car Vertical. So guys, welcome back to the channel. I am in Morzine, which is in the French Alps, and it is all to see one car in particular, which I've seen you guys drop in the comments. Where is the BMW automatic? Where is that 110 project that went missing essentially off of the channel? So we've made the travel, we've made the trip. The car was built to come out here in the French Alps, is behind me here, and it is a lot of fun. I'll run through some details now and we'll get into it. So guys, as I mentioned at the start of this series, I will leave various links in the descriptions that we can add on to this. This was a TD5 110 county station wagon. We haven't done anything to the exterior, but we were tasked with fitting a BMW, the later BMW engine, which was a straight 6.3 litre diesel, the automatic gearbox that goes with that, create the centre console that looks like, you know, all together, do a big brake upgrade and do an air suspension install. Now there was a whole host of other bits that we had to do along like repairs. We rebuilt the front axle, we did some other bits to it, but the car was completed and the car quickly made its way out to Geneva, travelled all the way through France and eventually landed up here in this beautiful, beautiful place. Now it travelled about, I think it was a 15-hour straight journey. So we're really happy with the way that everything's performing, but look at where we are. This is just ridiculous. It's such a nice setting. And I can't believe, I think I've seen like a couple other Defenders, nothing like this. I mean, having an automatic gearbox is just unbelievable. The engine choice is fantastic. The roads around here are chaos, but let's have a look around the car. So here she is, complete with all the upgrades and that beautiful engine and automatic gearbox choice. Now, I just can't believe where we are. I mean, this is in the middle of the French Alps. And when you say that, I don't know, I hope you guys get an idea of where this car is and what we're dealing with and what the car has to go through, if that makes sense, on a day-to-day basis. And this goes up and down the mountain every day, all ski season, amongst going backwards and forwards to England on a 15-hour journey. So I can see why he chose a number of these upgrades. Now, if you're new to this project, I will leave the links to the previous videos, and I did get a little bit of footage that I will chop in. Hopefully it makes some sense. Hopefully I can do the edit with that. Big brakes on the front. This thing is very, very powerful, very, very quick. You've got to be able to stop. Makes sense. Big brakes on the rear, of course. You can do it on a 90, but on a 110 with this much power. We've got a full custom exhaust, demand supplied and fitted. Demand supplied all of that. We fitted it all, and we told the measurements we want. Incredible underneath. We also fitted to this an Ashcroft largest capacity sump. Now, we really thought about this because we knew this vehicle was going to be travelling for an extended period of time, if you will. The customer said to us, I want to be sitting at about 80 miles an hour flat the whole way here, you know, flooring it, which is unheard of for a Defender. So we made a number of modifications to make sure that this could do that. And the first one was we wrapped, because the turbo is now on the opposite side of the engine, we exhaust wrapped the whole downpipe that goes all the way down up to the transfer box. Sorry, it's past the transfer box actually. And then to add to that, we fitted a high capacity Ashcroft sump to this. Let's actually have a look underneath. That makes sense, wouldn't it? So you can see the exhaust wrap that finishes just past the transfer box. And then we've got a high capacity sump so that this vehicle stays nice and cool, because the transfer box is going to be working overtime. And I would suppose it would be out of its regular boundaries, if that makes sense. A Defender would never really be sitting at that kind of speed for that kind of long time. So we put an additive into the oil, and a high grade quality oil, and then we could add half a litre extra for the transfer box to keep everything nice and cool, so we're not at risk of damaging the transfer box. Really happy with that. He hasn't reported any, it feels too hot on my bum or anything like that. We did all the optimal package, so we did all the usual upgrades in terms of like the bonnet hinges. We did the whole package on this, so it's got handles, hinges, everything. And I think the exterior looks really cool over here. This is a very typical London look, but it really works over here. It just looks super stealthy. You don't see them over here in this colour. If you do see them, they're very old or they're white. So this is quite a nice look over here, but it really suits with those anniversary 18-inch wheels. I think they really set this thing off. Now, when it came to the interior, I said to you guys that I wanted to make sure that we nailed the centre console. Now, I've seen a lot of conversions, and I've seen all the centre consoles from, I suppose you could say competitors. I wouldn't say competitors. Other traders and other people who do these conversions. I wanted to do ours. I didn't want to look at theirs and think, what can we do? I just wanted to make our totally own centre console. You know, we spent all these hours doing underneath the car, and what I didn't want to do was you open the door and you go, oh, it's obviously had an engine conversion, because this looks like it's stuck on or it doesn't look quite right. So I really want to spend quite a lot of time designing that centre console, making sure it was right. Now, obviously we did fit to this as well, If you guys remember the air shifters, so it can shift through high and low range, diff lock, is all on the suspension air compressor. And then we fitted an electric handbrake as well. So literally got no handbrake, none of that high-low lever, it's all gone, and it all works insane, it's ridiculous. And the centre console, we also added in a later, from an E61 I think for a BMW, the later gear lever, so it's got PRND on the gear lever, that's your gear indicator. I mean, I'll show you, it's easier, right? I'll show you this, and I'm super happy with this. I think we made the best one on the market, and I kind of mocks it off of the Land Rover 70th anniversary. Tell me what you guys think in the comment section below about our centre console. So guys, this is our centre console. Now, the one concern I had with other consoles or anything else I've seen is they usually lose the cubby box and then they replace it with their own, and then the cup holders maybe 1 and 2, like that, kind of that way. I didn't want it to feel like this wasn't a Defender in any way, shape or form. And I think this cubby box is so important in terms of how the driving experience feels. That's very Defender. It's a massive lock box. I didn't want to lose that. I didn't want to lose the cup holders. So we ended up shifting this back 50 mil, and then I designed and made this. And I think this is the best solution that's on the market today. It is custom made. They're not for sale just yet. If you have a conversion, essentially an automatic conversion, this is what you'll receive. We had it retrimmed to match the existing leather, and then you can see here we've tucked away nicely because you don't want to hit these when you're driving. You've got your diff lock, your high-low, and then your electric handbrake, and that is just insane. And then you've got your park, your automatic gear lever, which I think is super neat. And then you've also got these walled sides, so passengers, you can kneel up against it and you won't interfere with any of the console, any of the information there. You know, you're not knocking buttons or anything like that or disturbing it. Plus, this whole area becomes really quite handy for popping your phone or tickets, gizmos, whatever. You can just chuck your phone there or whatever it is. I think that was a neat solution. I think in the future, potentially, a fast charge thing there would be quite cool, like a wireless charger underneath the leather, something like that. That's something for us to think about. I did make it all serviceable, so you can see the nice fasteners here. I put those in so that you can disassemble it should you need to get, have the vehicle repaired for any reason, or we need to access it for whatever. Everything's disassemblable and it all comes apart in pieces. It's all just wood, leather wrapped and fastened all correctly. But it just looks really, really neat, I think. And I think that is the I think that is the best thing I've seen in terms of that. And that's what I'm super stoked about. I'm really happy with that. Now, you're probably wondering why that has a curve and that's straight. That's because the Land Rover one is exactly like that. And I wanted to mimic that. Absolutely covered. So I wanted to mimic that console. Because I think obviously Land Rover kind of know what they're doing, which it makes sense. I didn't want to directly copy them, hence why I've kind of changed it up a little bit, but I think that is the best looking console. Overall, let's pop the bonnet. So guys, I'm sorry here, but it started to absolutely come down in snow. Anyway, here's under the bonnet, and this is the later engine rather than the earlier one you've seen with our manual conversion. That will be previous on the channel, but we think we've done a very nice job, a very neat and tidy job. We've managed to retain the original, the fan shroud. We did have to modify it ever so slightly by making a few trimming cuts, just so that it doesn't foul any of the engine components. We painted the original cover, put a Land Rover badge on there. We've got all the wiring and all the cooling hoses are all nice and neatly tidied and stowed away. We've got an electric fan that senses the temperature and then automatically cuts in and out. We've got it has an aftermarket heater in this, so we've adapted to that. We've had custom AC lines manufactured and made for us, and they run really nice and neatly around here. Annoyingly, we can only get a blue hose at the time, but not the biggest issue. Again, a nice and neat conversion. It plonks in there quite happily. You've got a lot of space left and right of it, and you've got that awesome automatic gearbox which just shifts so smoothly. And in something like this, you know, having a 3-litre straight six BMW engine and the automatic gearbox which is made for that engine, then adapted to the transfer box of an original Land Rover. As I said in the previous one, we've shifted this whole running gear. We cut off all the mounts, the transfer box and engine mounts, and we shifted it all back into Puma position, which I believe is about 700 mil back. And then have Puma props fitted to this so that we had all the room we needed to make this run perfectly. And we've got so much space around the engine bay. I can see how everyone's fitting these LS3s and big V8s and how these are perfect for engine changes, because you've got all the room in the world, and you can really just go at it and just chop bits off and get everything welded back on. And as you guys saw previously, we got these engine mounts welded absolutely arrow straight and perfect. And that is one thing that I've really stressed at the start of this. This is why I always wear a hat, by the way. This is one thing I always stress at the very start of this build. Those engine mounts had to be absolutely spot on, because if they were not, it would run and drive, blah, blah, blah. You get up to 80, 90 miles an hour, and you would have got a horrific vibration rumbling up through the chassis, eventually through the body, and everything would have been absolutely vibrating. And that just couldn't happen. So we had to get those measurements absolutely perfect. And I'm happy to say, being in this car, coming from the airport, doing an hour and a half drive, nice and quickly, swiftly, should I add, whisper quite nice and smooth. We are actually, the vehicle's going to come back to us, and we are going to be changing the transfer box, I believe. We're going to try and bring the ratio down from an original 1.41 down to a 1.1, I think is what I'm going to try and angle this at, because at about 70, 80 miles an hour, we're up to about 3,000 revs, which is exactly how the BMW would have been. But obviously, you want to be using less fuel, you want to be going, not stressing out the engine, and just generally feel like you're not, you know, kicking the nuts out of it. So that's probably going to be quite interesting. Change the transfer box out, again keeping it high capacity sump, but just with lowering the ratio just to keep the revs down. That will affect acceleration. I don't think that's going to matter up here, but this is where this vehicle lives all through the winter ski season, and the amount of heads it turns over here is crazy. It just gets so much attention, probably because it's hooning past, and it sounds incredible, this one. And we tried to keep this one quiet as well. We had put 2 silencers on it, and it doesn't make a peep at speed. But if you want it to make some noise, God, you can hear it. It's incredible. Now, it wouldn't be. I could easily gloss over this, but you know what? Stuff happens. I was over here, and on our second day, the air suspension light started flashing. And I thought, right, let's switch it off, switch it back on, put it in service mode. It's a good thing I'm here, right? Annoyingly, the front right driver's airbag, so the air spring, sorry, there's been a manufacturing defect, and the very top clamp that clamps the bag has gone missing. And I don't know how that's happened. It's never happened to us before. We've installed a lot of air suspension kits. And of course it would happen to this one that's in the middle of nowhere in the French Alps. And if you lose an air spring, you're on the bump stop, and that is a very bumpy ride. So I've extended my trip out here, which I'm not too concerned about actually, because I get more days skiing. And On Air are very nicely expediting a new air spring out to us. I'm going to package up the old one, and we're going to see what has happened with that exactly. But you know, some of you guys did mention this with all the air suspension installs that you see us do. You know, if you do pop a bag, it has an effect, and I can't say I'm too impressed. Luckily, I can say it's nothing we've done, and I don't know how the hell it's happened. I'll show you. I have no idea how this has happened, but this is a good side. So you can see all our. So you can see the bag there, and that silver band clamps the airbag to the part that we bolt on. Now on this side, that bag has separated away from the turret. So that is a problem. So here's me saying everything's all perfect. It's not, and I want you to guys know that I'm being totally transparent here. That is frustrating. But I'm over here. We've got a general toolkit and not too hard to swap out. We're going to go home, and we're going to change this air spring, and then hopefully we have a bit more time to show you this thing driving as well. And I'm just for now just going to appreciate the scenery, and you guys can watch me go skiing, which is hilarious because I put my hands up. I'm not talented at skiing. I can go down a mountain, but you'd think I'd be able to pull this suit off, wouldn't you? Nah, it's not the case. Stay tuned, and I'll see you guys soon. Guys, this is going to be my workshop for the evening, and we're doing this limited tooling. So guys, you join me on our test drive of making sure that I still know what I'm doing in the middle of nowhere. The suspension light is not flashing, I'm happy with that. It's not feeling harsh anymore, and we're back to enjoying the product. But look at this snow coming down. This place is absolutely stunning. It's about about an hour and a half plane journey, and then about an hour and a half drive. And then there's like an hour's time difference. And this is just stunning, this place. I can't believe how much snow is coming down. I'll see if I can get a standing shot or something of it. Well guys, there we have it. I'm caught in a blizzard again, but our suspension is all rectified. I'm happy with it. I've double checked all the other bags. Everything's all looking good. Just looks like we had a manufacturing error with the part. But with that smooth suspension, that smooth engine, those big brakes, this is a hell of a car up here. There's too much power for it at the minute because obviously the road is just covered in snow. So any kind of tap of the throttle, it likes to slip up. This was such a fun build, this one, because getting those engine mounts and those transfer box mounts absolutely arrow perfect have made this thing feel like Land Rover had just rolled this thing off the line. The engine choice just feels so perfect for it. The gearbox changes beautifully. Electric fans are cutting in and out. We took the time with this one and we really did make sure that it was perfect. The bag went, but we got it right. And it was a good thing I was out here. But what a sick car. I hope you've loved this one, guys. I've certainly enjoyed myself skiing and even got to toy with the car. But make sure you leave your comments down below. Please do hit subscribe. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, which is @JuiceMotors. And I'll see you guys for the next episode, which I'm sure will be very interesting. This won't be the last we see of this car. It's going to come back. We're going to do some more upgrades. And then I'm probably going to come out next year and visit this old friend again. Thanks, guys. These engines are so nicely balanced, whisper smooth and quiet. Doesn't even look like it's running. They're so refined and perfect for these cars. I don't know if you can hear that. That sounds very quiet indeed. Let's give it a little rev. You can hear the turbo. before you go, guys, I thought I'd show you some of the features that we built into this thing. Really, really cool features. So the vehicle has to be in park for it to start. So if we put it in drive and switch it off, there you go. I'll put the handbrake on. We'll need the ignition on for that. Handbrake on. And if I put it in drive, it just won't start now. So you have to put it in park physically, and then it will start, which is really cool. You get your fat brake pedal down here, and you got a footrest as well. So it is like a factory, which is really cool. But look what I'm driving. Catch you guys next time.